Good evening, everybody. I don't know whereabouts in the world you're joining us. We're feeling very international this evening. I'm Heather from Reading Rocks, and I'm in, I was going to say sunny Cornwall, but it's been a bit hit and miss today. Hopefully, you're somewhere where it's nice and sunny. This evening, we are in for a bit of a treat and a chat. We are delving into the recent July Key Stage 1 subscription pack. And as you know, or maybe some of you don't know, our teacher subscription pack, you get 2 current books. There's always an orange one and a purple one. I feel like I need to show you what's inside the orange one, just in case you haven't seen it. So this, I was getting mixed up with the camera. So this was the first book that was in our recent Keep Stage 1 pack. A cat. I feel like there might be a slight pet theme for us today. And then we are definitely delving into this purple parcel with the very fantastic Peanut Butter and Crackers Puppy Problems. How fab are those characters? And we are very, very lucky that we are joined all the way across from California by Paige Braddock, who is the creator, the author, and the illustrator of this fantastic graphic novel for early readers, maybe age 5 to 7-ish, our Key Stage 1 range. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Paige in. Hi, Paige.
Hello, greetings.
Thank you so much for joining us to chat about Peanut Butter and Crackers. How is it over there in California at the moment?
It's sunny. It's about 70 degrees. I need a second cup of coffee. It's about 10 a.m., but other than that, it's all is well.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, we'll chat a bit and then we'll let you go and get that lovely. See if you earn that second cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So let's get straight into it. So, Peanut Butter and Crackers Puppy Problems is the first in a series, and it's a gorgeous graphic novel format. Um, tell us where this book began, how it came about.
Well, I think I might even talk about this a little bit in the back matter of that book, but we had these two lovely rescue pets, a dog and a cat, and I decided we needed a puppy. I don't know why. And we ended up adopting this little dachshund puppy who is like the poster boy for puppy problems. He is a puppy problem. His the real world version of Peanut is named Charlie. Um, but I don't know. I remember I was sitting in my backyard. I have my studio is basically a converted shed that my dad kind of tricked out for me. And I was sitting on the porch of my little studio shed and watching the dogs. And I just started sketching the dogs interacting with the cat and just kind of watching them and sort of creating monologues in my head about maybe what they were talking about or how annoyed the other two animals were at this crazy puppy. Um, Somebody coined the phrase puppy pandemonium, and that's kind of what it was like for the first 6 months we had this dog. He had a lot of funny nicknames, like called him the Velvet Monster because he was so soft, but he was like a terror. And then we called him a land shark because he would pick up these giant limbs that were 4 times bigger than him and then run around the yard, like crazy. Anyway, he was very good. He was a very good character to model this first story after. Yeah.
Fantastic. I feel like we do need to see some pictures. Please, can you post some pictures of this land shark for
Oh,
us?
yeah, absolutely, yes.
So it came about from the sketching and the observation at first. Is that how you've always worked?
Yeah, for me, most of my stories, I think some writers, they their stories are more plot driven, and my stories are more character driven. And I find that I keep a sketchbook always around, and if I have a character that seems to reoccur in the sketchbook a lot, it's like starts as doodles in the margins, and then it starts to take shape, and then they start to have a personality. I sort of pay attention to that, and I'm like, okay, there's a story here. And Yeah, that's sort of how the puppy problems thing started. Because I had little cartoon versions of our cat and our other dog. And then when I started adding Charlie to the mix, I was like, there was something really nice about the trio of personalities and shapes and sizes that came together. And then, but I was like, what am I going to call it? And I remember one day I was in my office and I realized, oh, I'm going to name it after my favorite snack, peanut butter and crackers.
Perfect.
Yeah.
They're brilliant names. They're really good. I think what you're saying about the characters coming first, I felt that as I read it. They're really, really strong. Um, I was going to jump into the characters then, but I'm going to go back a little bit and just ask you about your journey as a graphic novel creator. Have you created comics previously, or have you written previously, or illustrated? What's your journey?
I started drawing comics when I was really young. I was probably 7 when I announced to my parents I was going to be a cartoonist, which worried them a lot because they thought I would be jobless. But um, I grew up in a very rural place in the States, southern Mississippi, and in a time where we didn't have comic shops and there weren't really graphic novels in the libraries that you could check out back when I was a kid. And so I grew up reading the Sunday funnies, the funny pages in the Sunday newspaper. And, ironically, one of my favorite characters was Snoopy by Charles M. Schulz. And so, fast forward years of high school and college, and just keep drawing and drawing and publishing my own work and trying to do all that stuff. Anyway, I ended up getting a job at Schulz's studio in California, which is like the other half of how I spend my life is drawing Peanuts characters. So it's funny that I would work for sort of a cartoon dog, but I love drawing cartoon dogs. It's kind of everything kind of came full circle.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's amazing. And
But but I did have another series that I did before this one called Stinky Cecil about amphibians, um, and one free range hamster.
okay, I like it. So all animal based is a real
Kind
interest,
of, yeah,
isn't
kind of
it?
animal based, yeah.
Amazing. Let's have a look at the characters. And those of you who've not seen the book yet, if you want to get a sneak preview, if you pop onto the Nosy Crow website, you can actually have a flick through the first part. So there's our characters: Peanut, Butter, and Crackers. I'm not sure how close people can see that. But you tell us Peanut is a curious, excitable puppy, which, yeah, of course, it's a good job. They're adorable, isn't it? But I love the way that with your characters, you've talked about their wants and their worries. And I think for the age group that are reading it as well, that's a really good way to get right into the heart of the characters. So Peanut obviously wants to fit in and be part of the family and have fun. I mean, who can't, link with that? But worries about the dark and getting lost and being left out, and the bin lorry. I mean, every dog owner knows that a noise outside, they get there as fast as lightning to the window to have a bark and a shout, don't they? So
Yeah.
I really like that at the beginning. What made you decide to put the wants and the worries there? Was that a choice, or did that evolve as things were happening, creating?
This was actually an idea that my editor Halima had, which I thought was really great because as an artist and a writer, you're thinking about those things, but you don't normally share that with the readers, right? That's your sort of that's your behind the scenes. Like in order to make a story compelling, you have to figure out what does a character want? What do they need? What are they afraid of? What are their aspirations? You like figure out all that stuff. And then doing it for the book, it was kind of like a little social media profile. Like if Peanut was going to have an Instagram, this was, Peanut's Instagram account bio. Um, it's funny that the cat Butter got his name because he likes butter, and our cat actually did also eat an entire stick of butter one day that we left on the counter. So,
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm not sure I could eat a whole stick of butter though. Ooh,
No, no.
it's a bit too much. But cats, yes, I can imagine. I can imagine that. I think for we go a lot. Teachers get our subscription, and for young writers and creators, seeing that little insight into the creation, I think this is be a lovely way for them to have a go at creating the characters themselves. Um, is there a character there that you particularly relate to? Are you more peanut butter or crackers?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I'm probably a combination of peanut and crackers. I I was not really a cat person, so until we adopted our cat Otis. His name is Otis, and so I'm learning to be a cat person. And I find cats very funny. They're so different from dogs, and I often joke that our cat is really a dog in a cat suit because he takes on the he takes on the the behaviors of our dog sometimes, like he'll come when you call him, or he'll chase a ball, or it's kind of funny.
That's brilliant. I'm just going to share another bit from the book again. So after your characters, you've got that lovely setting where we just see just above the house and the their domain really. Um, Again, for the young readers, I think that's really lovely that it's just there's a simplicity to that, isn't there? There's a real kind of something that they can totally relate to, and for them as creators or writers themselves, I think it's lovely for them to see that you can create a wonderful story just out of something that you know. Um, was that always in the book, or was that something that editors thought was going to be something interesting for the readers?
Yeah, that was also added, and I think it's a great idea because when you're doing a graphic novel, you can't show everything in every panel, right? So you can only show a little glimpse of a room, or a glimpse of the yard, or the garden, whatever. And so but in your head, as you're writing the story, you have to know where everything is and how it all fits together. So I already had a sketch of it, and I was like, oh, that's a great idea. We'll just finish it out, make it a little map. um, so then the reader has an idea of where the animals are in the context of their larger home, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's really great. Um, so you talked about like observing your own pets, and thinking about. I think somebody commented a little bit earlier on. Let me just say. Do wonder what animals can say to need the speech bubbles. But I think sometimes it's really clear with cats and dogs, isn't it? You could totally just put that speech bubble above their head. But I noticed that there are humans, in there, but just kind of legs or just arms. I'm not sure if people can see that. And then you chose to give the when the human speech was there, you've not actually put the text in, and it's a different color as well. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I often I often think, like, not only do I wonder like what the animals' internal, like, sort of, or what their dialogue is, but I imagine that they have no idea what we're saying to them. Like, they probably understand one word every now and then. So I thought it would be funny to have the human talk, but the animals have no idea what they're saying. And then I talked to the colorist about, I know sometimes you'll notice the lines are like kind of uh, softly textured. That's just a random conversation. And then if they like get really agitated, it's like the human is yelling at the dog, right? And then I asked the colors to cat to like change the colors and make them more vibrant when the human's mad. But and it was just a fun approach.
It is. It's brilliant. And I think for developing young readers, that kind of code, as it were, for them, they can interpret that and they can understand way more than if they were plodding through kind of decoding letters and text. but then there's so much opportunity for discussion and inference, isn't there? And go, well, what do you think they were saying? How do you think they might be saying? So the teacher hat on, I think that's genius. I think it's really, really, really good.
Oh, thank you.
I think you slightly talked about this earlier, but I was particularly pinpointed this page, but it's kind of prevalent throughout it. The differences between cats and dogs. I thought you've shown that really well quite a few times. That tell us about the fun you must have had thinking about how to portray those cats as rather aloof and knowing better, and dogs as just, wow, let's have some fun.
That's probably all in my head, but I imagine that our cat is just like always like annoyed by our dogs going, "Why are you barking again at the squirrel?" Right? Like you can't even open the door and the squirrel is not afraid of you. Um yeah, I feel like the cat just wants creature comforts and quiet time and you know what I mean, and free access to food. That's all the cat in this story wants.
It's so good. There are several opportunities. I think if you've been a cat or a dog owner or both, you just looking at it and go, yeah, definitely. That's exactly what the cat thinks. That's exactly what the dog thinks. So obviously in this story we've got the cat and the dog that already exist in the house and have an absolutely brilliant life, and then this curveball of the puppy throws massive change into the scenario. And puppy really in this instance is just like when a new baby comes home, and they suck the human time and they cry in the night, we on the floor.
Yeah.
And I just, for me, just those parallels with a new baby coming home, I was thinking about children being able to relate to that if they've got younger siblings, and kind of lots of opportunities for empathy and discussing, what the puppy or the baby or the new person needs. And was it kind of on your mind when you were creating that it was a bit similar to when a new baby come homes, or was it just totally on your puppy?
It definitely was. The development editor I worked with, Sheila Keenan, she has since retired, but she and I were having conversations about how at the core it is sort of a sibling story, and I really wanted it to be about learning to be empathetic, and sort of understanding other people's fears and challenges, and so that was kind of the root of it, and you do get to see the two initial characters go through and realize that they need to be empathetic and supportive, and that they want to be by the end of the story to the puppy. So that was kind of a fun journey for them.
Yeah, I think that's very strong in there, and that's one of the reasons that I want, like, it was definitely high on the choice list for all of those discussions. And I think that empathy thing is really strong. So I've got so many post-it notes. There's so much. I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much in this. There's so much to talk about. I'm not going to show you the scroll, but those speech bubbles where you've shown what crackers. I think, can you see that? Can everyone see that one?
Yeah, he's very upset.
Look at the face, and then just how much you can say, and giving that over to children as well. They can learn from that they can show their readers or their consumers so much about what the character is thinking
Yeah,
without having.
that's the really nice thing about comics is you have the words, but you also, it's important to let the characters act and emote their feelings, right? So you have a word that implies a character's happy or sad, but you also want to, for those aspiring cartoonists out there, you also want to show that feeling in the drawing. So, the facial expression reflects that, and sort of the body position. Like, I really had to watch our puppy and like see like when the puppy's scared, like how the body like hunches over a little bit and they tuck their tail, and when they're uncertain they lift their paw. There's lots of little, if you look at creatures, and or people, there's a lot of physical sort of ways people show how they're feeling, that I tried to also pay attention to when I was doing the drawings. So you really
Fantastic.
feel for the character.
Yeah, you definitely do both, all the different kind of sides. I think it's a nice point to just skip in the back of the book. Sorry, take my scrawly post-it note out. This is a brilliant section. I'm so glad that this was added to the behind the scenes, and we can see some of your early sketches, and character development. And you talk about building the panels and the process, and how it looks when you've done your bit. And then you tell us a little bit about Kat Fraser, who is the colorist, which maybe some children might not have seen before. So I love the way that you've shown that. Can you tell us how you and Kat work together, or is it kind of my part then your part, or is there a bit of back and forth?
Well, there's a bit of back and forth in the beginning usually because like I sort of figured out what color I wanted the characters to be and sort of what patterns they might have. Like how Crackers has white feet and sort of a white stomach, and um, but then she is very good at color, better than me, and so she would take sort of my rough notes, and then she just made everything to me look brighter and more fun. She has a very nice palette, um, and sense of color. And I was really happy that she and I were able to work on all three books together. So, and she even did the extra chapters at the ends of these books. So, yeah, she's a brilliant colorist, and I feel really lucky because I could do the color, but it wouldn't look this good. So, it's better.
It's,
I just think in black and white more than color. So it's really good if color's not your strength, to work with somebody for whom it is a strength, right?
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
It's great that that's been, and there's loads of little extra goodies like you've just said. So just a shout out to Nosy Crow. So in our subscription box, as well as the book, our teachers got some nice extra sheets, which are those pages that are at the end of the how to draw each character, which is just great for connecting people with books. And these gorgeous stickers as well, which are just beautiful. So
Nice.
thanks, Nosy Crow, for those. But yeah, in the back of the book, those how to draws are there as well, which is just a lovely way for readers to connect and maybe take those characters on their own little journey. And just while we're on the characters, we've got a question about whether those I should just read it, shouldn't I, instead of trying to interpret on the go? But whether there's changes between your original submitted almost finished off to the colorist, yeah, how much change happens along the way?
Well, for graphic novels, so there's a little bit of this in the book, but you're basically doing three stages. You're doing pencils, which is you roughly pencil out the entire book, and you submit that to the editor. And what you're hoping is that you work out any changes in that need to be made at the pencil stage before you ink. Like by the time you get to the inks, you don't really want to have to be making changes because that's more permanent. I mean, obviously you can make digital corrections to ink and color, but um, usually I do like really quick thumbnails of the entire book, which is sort of you plot out what's going to happen on what page and sort of pace the book. Like every story has topography, right? So like hills and valleys, and you want to know where those hills and valleys are going to hit throughout the narrative. And then once I have that figured out in thumbnails, which are really just like postage stamp size quick drawings, then I do the pencils, and then the pencils are what goes to the editor for review. And because for graphic novels, some people I know write scripts out and all in text, but for me that doesn't work because there's so much that's not written that happens in the drawing. So for me, that doesn't really all come together until you're actually doing the pencils, and then the editor can see like, oh, this is the whole picture. So
And how long does your process take? So how long did Puppy Problems take
it
at each stage?
it take all together takes about 6 months. I mean, if I was having to do the color myself, it would take longer. But working with a colorist, I can do a group of pages. I can finish inking them and then send them to Kat, and she can be working on those while I'm finishing,
Yeah,
inking. So yeah, it's a nice process.
yeah, brilliant. So with Puppy Problems, and then in the back we have a little bit of a sneak because it's part of a series. So can you give?
Yeah,
Oh, and you've got copies.
I
Give
just
us a little
I just
insight into what our characters get up to in these two.
I just got these. So in the second book, it's called River Rescue. I always think it's funny to imagine what house pets do when they're in the wild. And so they go camp on a camping trip with their humans in a camper van. But then, of course, Butter gets bored and cuts a hole in the screen and escapes. And then of course, they get lost because they don't know anything about being in the woods. And I don't want to spoil the fun, but it is pretty funny, and they end up meeting a, a beaver named Birch who helps them on their adventure, and there's a whole bunch of other animals in the campground. So I was just imagining if everyone traveled with their pets, like you know, birds, lizards, fluffy dogs, big dogs, small dogs. I just thought it would be kind of funny. So
Yeah, definitely. And then our other, what's the next one as well? Have you got
I
Doggy
do. I have the
School?
next. I do have this one
Yes,
too.
Doggy School. Yes.
So this one was inspired by reality because I'm not a very good dog trainer. And so we decided that our puppy problem should go to school and get a little, training and meet other dogs and all that kind of stuff. And then after I went a few times, I was like, okay, this would be a hilarious story of, you know, Peanut not fitting in very well at school and having a hard time. And then now, Butter and Crackers are like, well, we're going to help you out. So there's some really funny scenes where the cat Butter disguises, wears a disguise of Cracker's raincoat and sneaks into doggy school. And there's this big hilarious scene where there's a cat in dog school. Ah!
Brilliant. Oh,
It's pretty funny.
I can't wait to see copies of those. Was it always intended to be a series? Did you have those other stories at the
I did
ready?
have I did have the initial three stories, and I hope there's going to be one more. I did have a couple of other good ideas that I think would make really funny stories, so I hope there'll be even more. But yeah, the initial three were kind of like home, outdoors, and then school, sort of the big three. So
Fantastic. That's it. It's so good. It's so good. And I just know that they're just going to go down so well with teachers and children. There's like you said, that lovely balance of kind of humor, but engaging in the story and real depth of things to see and unpick. Absolutely fantastic. I'm going to put you on the spot now. You are going to have to answer this question because we have had this question on Twitter.
uh-oh.
Like I said, we did have in this box. It was a little bit of a pet kind of theme. There was cat definitely one for our first choice by Pamela Butchart and illustrated by Monica Filipino. Was definitely the cat here. You have both, and both in real life. But as you can see, the Twitterati have been voting, and dogs has kind of won. So for you,
I'm gonna have to say both because if my cat Otis hears that I voted for dogs, I'm in big trouble.
and he's listening, we can see the speech bubble
I
above and
know.
see what he's thinking. Well, yeah, I'm very impressed with your answer without getting yourself into trouble. I used to be cats. I cat was called Slippers.
Oh, that's a good name.
Who are beautiful cats, black with 4 white paws. And she was very aloof most of the time, but they have a way, don't they, of knowing when you need a cuddle and when to kind of help you out. And she was great. But Slippers has been gone a long time, and it's definitely House of Dog now. Our
Uh-oh.
our our cockador is called Luna, and yeah, she has definitely got my heart.
Oh.
So it's vote for a dog here.
It's funny how much even small, because all of our animals are very small. Like the cat is bigger than both our dogs. They're tiny, but how much space small creatures take up in your house. I'm always like, how does the smallest creature take up the most room on the couch, on the sofa?
Oh, so you're definitely a let them on the couch kind of person.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think the small ones just that's just what happens, you know.
It
How
is.
can you have a cuddle when they're on the ground? No.
No,
I'm definitely voting for on the couch. And they're great then because they cuddle in while you're having a read.
that's right.
Can you draw with them, or is that no?
I do have some funny pictures of me trying to work with all three of them because they get nosy and they want to know what's going on in here and they start scratching at the door and then I let them in and then like I'll have to see if I can post one of the pictures where it's just chaos. You know, you can't draw with a dachshund on your lap. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, don't post cute pictures. Post some chaotic pictures. That'd be brilliant. Amazing. Oh, it's been so good to chat to you. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to remind everybody that we are in the voting phase for our Reading Rocks Books Awards for all the books that have been in our subscription box. So if you've enjoyed Paige's Peanut Butter and Crackers, there it is on the Key Stage 1 vote. Get yourself voting and see who the winner is going to be. There are all the other categories as well. Yeah,
That's a lot of great books. That's tough competition.
I have a great job of just choosing great books to share with lots of bookish teachers. It's not a bad way to live and work.
No, that's good.
um, just before we go, any top tips for maybe teachers who are watching and working with children, or parents who've got young children who are keen to be a comic creator themselves? What would be your top tips for them?
I always tell kids just to practice a lot. I mean, I think what happens is like I remember being a kid and like having a vision in my head of what I wanted something to look like, but not being able to get it on paper. But the more you practice, the closer those two things get to each other. And now when I see something in my head or imagine it, I can actually get it on paper the way I want it. So, and that just happens with practice. I always tell people, keep a sketchbook, keep all your ideas. You don't know, some of the ones you don't think are good in the moment, you come back to later because, you know, I don't know, you see them from a different perspective later.
Yeah.
But yeah, just keep
There's no
drawing.
shortcuts. There are no shortcuts, are there? They kind of just have to put the hours in, put the work in,
Yes,
and be patient. But it's hard to be patient.
it is. Yeah, don't give up on yourself. That's the biggest thing. It's like, you know, being good at a sport where you really have to practice. Drawing is the same thing. It's just different kinds of muscles and training.
And all masters have been a beginner at some point, haven't they? I think
Yes.
don't be too hard on yourself. Oh,
Yeah.
Paige, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me. Even though we are thousands of miles apart, it's felt like we were in the same room, and it's been.
We're neighbors on the screen.
We certainly are bookish neighbours. I love that. It's been so good. Thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to hearing about a fourth one in the series.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's hope. Thank you so much, and I appreciate the conversation, and I hope readers really love these characters as much as I do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye now.
Bye.